everybody, this is TCG Productions. It is December 26th, 2025, the day after Christmas, and today, or well this evening actually, because it's just after 8 o'clock at night, I am going to be taking y'all on a tour of the tech room yet again. So, back just in time for what is probably another annual installment of the Tech Room Tour series. So, anyways, as you can see behind me, well, we're just cutting right to the chase now, aren't we? Anyways, as you can see behind me, we've got the shelving units. Shelving units got changed out over the summer. Took down the old plastic shelving units, which were sagging and bowing under the load of all the stuff that was on them and whatnot. Put up some pretty nice. I'm not going to say they're new because they're not new, but they are still in great condition. Some nice metal shelving units. So, did a big old clean out, moved a bunch of stuff to storage whenever I did that, cleaned up under the shelving unit, stuff like that. Typical while you're in here stuff. So, then, again, behind me over here, we've got Christmas lights, got the pre-decorated rotating light-up RGB Christmas tree. And no, these are not LED Christmas lights. These are old school incandescent Christmas lights, if you can see them. And yeah, right there. Also sitting on top of the Gateway 2000 system. So not only is this going to be a general tech room tour video, it's also going to be kind of showcasing a few systems and kind of showcasing some projects and stuff that are going to be coming up. So, as you can see right over there, we have a computer monitor lit up, and that is currently connected to the the Gateway 510S system right down there. The Athlon 64 system is unfortunately right now out of service because it has suffered a power supply failure. I went to power it up to do regular maintenance disk imaging on it, and what it instead decided to do was, well, hit the power button, it started up and immediately shut down on me, and further attempts to start the system up were pressing the power button again proved to be completely unsuccessful. The system did not respond at all. So I figured that the power supply had probably tripped overcurrent or short circuit protection and shut down. So I cycled the power. I cycled the AC power input to the supply. Hit the power button, turn the power supply back on, hit the power button once again, and the system came up. And so did a capacitor. A capacitor went pop, hiss. And it was like, and that's about the point at which I turned the power off this whole end of the desk right here. Because I have this little power switch box right here. And this little switch that's labeled monitor, that actually switches the power to the retro computer, to the computer's end of this particular desk. Switches power to the Gateway 510S, the Athlon 64 system, and the monitor. Is that it? Yeah. Yeah. It does the monitor, and it also does the little speaker setup that I've got back here. Oh look, this thing just went into its screensaver. Wow. That looks so good on this monitor. The pipe screensaver. I know it's not really doing it any justice because I've got this bright lamp on. Still not doing it any justice. Anyways, yeah. This is the Gateway 510S system. Haven't really done anything with this other than power it up, disk image it, and shut it down every few months. So I need to do something with that. The Athlon 64 system, I need to recap the power supply in it, and then actually do something with the Windows XP 64-bit install that I have on that particular system. So, yeah, that system is out of service. That system is what you're seeing powered up right here, right now. Oh, I didn't have a password set on the screensaver. It goes to show how little I've actually configured this Windows install. This is the same Mitsubishi Diamond Pro 710 CRT monitor as has been seen on the channel before. Oh, what? Let me see if I can change the screen resolution to get it. Oh my mouse. Oh, there we go. I was afraid the mouse had stopped working. Go settings. Point the camera somewhere. Monitor 75. Change that to 60. There we go. A little bit more flicker for me, but it's a whole lot easier on the camera. So, doesn't that monitor look good and crisp? There we go. And the picture's a little bit out of adjustment. But this is the same monitor as has been seen on the channel in the past since about 2018, 2019 or thereabouts. It's popped up in a number of videos since then. So again, same wax melter, same lamps as several years gone by. So yeah, that's this corner of the room. Got my dehumidifier down there. And then again, we've got the big light up Christmas tree. We've got the 16 terabyte drive that backs up Hyperion. We'll get to that in a moment. And then I've got this Onkyo big integrated AV receiver thing, and I'm using it as an audio amplifier for a couple of different sets of speakers. The primary set of speakers being these two big boys over here that I got from a friend over the summer. We're dropping frames on that thing like you wouldn't believe, looks like. So, but yeah, that is running a couple different sets of speakers. It's running, the primary set is this big boy set of speakers here that I got from a friend over the summer. Other set of speakers, a pair of Realistic Minimus 7s. And these used to be my primary dorm room speakers until my Fisher RS-1056 stereo failed and it tried to eat the right channel speaker whenever it did so. So I ended up replacing that set of speakers and putting a different amplifier in its place. So I decided to give these speakers a second life over here. So this is where they are. They're connected to the Zone 2. They're connected to the Zone 2 output on that Onkyo. And I think at some point what I'm going to do is the output from I'm going to take the audio output from these systems, route them into that Onkyo, and then I can route the audio out of it to whichever set of speakers I so desire. So, yeah. And then over here we've got the Tech Room Workbench. And this right here, this is Theseus. The reason why this system is called Theseus is because it has been ship of Theseus. Not only has it been ship of Theseus forward about 2.5, 3 times over, this system has actually been ship of Theseus in reverse, if you can believe it or not. Because this system is running the system core that I retired out of my main workstation last October. If you've watched my main workstation new system core series, the main workstation motherboard failure series, a couple different series of videos there, you'll know that you'll know exactly what hardware is in this system. And for those of you who haven't gone back and watched the video or don't remember or don't know, I've got an MSI MS-7850 motherboard in here, also known as an MSI PCMate Z97. An Intel Core i7-4790K processor. I have not overclocked that processor again in this particular build, just because I don't care to. If I have a need for that much performance, I'll do it. But if I start having a need for absurd amounts of performance, I will probably pony up the cash and build a system to replace this one. Although I really don't want to right now because the price of DDR5 RAM has gone absolutely ballistic recently, as of the last few months. Thank you, AI. So, But yeah, this system it's actually back in the original case this system core went into almost 10 years ago. In fact, I've had the processor in here that is in this system. I've had it in service for over 9 years now. Now, this might look like the same heatsink, but it's not. This is actually another Noctua NH-D14 heatsink that I bought off of eBay because I needed a heatsink to go on this motherboard. And in fact, this is not. Oh look, our system just went into a screensaver. Anyways, this is this is not the original reason I recommissioned this system core, is to have a workbench test PC or play games or anything like that. The original reason I recommissioned this system core is so that way I could have a second Proxmox hypervisor system. But I ended up not doing anything with it, and so I decided to do something else with it instead. Because my dorm room computer used to be that tiny little Dell Inspiron system right down there. A tiny little Dell Inspiron system with an 8th Gen an 8th Gen Intel Core i3 in it. So, used to be that, and then I shuffled a whole bunch of systems around, and then one of the systems I shuffled around ended up becoming my interim dorm room computer. And then eventually I decided to retire this as a Proxmox hypervisor and instead make this, again, a workstation system. So yeah, it's back in service, if you can believe it. EVGA GTX 970 super clocked GPU. I've got a couple of these. I've got a couple of these floating around. And there's I think 2 of these floating around in my hardware collection somewhere. This is one of them. This is the one. I cannot remember if I pulled this out of a system that I cycled out of service, or if this was the one I was given years and years ago by a neighbor that was for quite some time my video rendering GPU. But I know I have 2 of these kicking around, and this is one of them. I think one's a super clocked model, and this one is the super clocked model. So I don't know exactly what. I don't know where the other one has gone off to in my hardware collection. It could very well still be sitting. It could very well still be sitting in another system that's just in storage, or maybe another one of my systems. No, I just remembered the other one of those cards. The other 970 is. I think in my dad's computer, which is in the living room on the other side of that wall. So yeah, there's 2 970s, and this is a higher performance one of the 2. So anyways, if anybody's curious, the game running in its demo mode here is a remastered version of Quake 2. So I got the Quake 2, one of the Quake 2 bundles off of Steam. Long ago, actually over the summer. Ended up ended up buying it, and then I spent about 3 hours playing it, blowing enemies' heads off. after a particularly cantankerous pair of uninterruptible power supplies, just absolutely. Let's just put it this way: if I didn't do that, I would have unracked them. I would have unracked them and thrown them out the second-story window of the building. So they were getting me all kinds of mad. So then over here we've got the 1993 Gateway 2000 8046 system, pretty much unchanged from what it was the last time we looked at it. This thing is running, yeah, I'm blanking on the name of the game, even though I just launched it like 30 minutes ago and have played it forever. Jazz Jackrabbit CD. Now, I do have a copy of Jazz Jackrabbit Christmas 1995 edition. Yeah, I do have a copy of Jazz Jackrabbit Christmas 1995 edition, but this is not the copy that's running. The copy you're seeing here is just the copy you're seeing running here is just Jazz Jackrabbit CD. Now, there is no CD in this optical drive. It's not running from CD, it's running from hard disk. So, yeah, if I quit the demo and cut back out to DOS here, and let's epileptic seizure warning. Just do a dir. Let's see, it says there's 338 files, 18 18.796 megabytes, and we've got about 251 megabytes free on this particular hard disk. Anyways, this system has been relatively unchanged since the last time I had a look at it. But I do have some projects coming up for this thing. I have a box with 32 megabytes of RAM in it. And that is 32 megabytes of 30-pin SIM RAM, in fact, that I'm going to be putting into the system. And then I bought myself another Seagate ST41650N hard disk. Yes, same make and model of hard disk as I bought last time I tried to do something with this system, which ultimately ended up wasting a bunch of my time and leading to that teardown video of the failed Seagate ST41650N hard disks. Hard disk, not discs. So, and then we've got a Sony SDT5000. We've got a Sony SDT5000 tape drive up here, and that backs up to a pair of AI. Is it not? No, not AIT. A pair of DDS tapes, and DDS. Actually, DDS2, Digital Data Storage 2. DAT120 quality tape, 4 gigabytes per tape, 120 meters length. And this here, these are just standard, these are just standard DAT or DAT audio tapes. Yes, digital audio tape. These were also used as backup tapes. Got a couple of them here. And on one of these tapes, on at least one of these tapes, possibly even both tapes, is are complete backups of the contents of both hard drives in this system. So, yeah, both hard drives in this system comfortably back up to one of these 4 gigabyte tapes. In fact, I could probably put multiple full backup sets onto one of these tapes. So now the drive is loading the tape, and the one thing that was hardest to do with these drives, well, with this drive in particular, was actually find a piece of software that I could actually get to interface with this drive, because this is, as you can tell here by the big cable coming in and the terminator device up here that says passive on it, this is a SCSI tape drive. And this also means that it connects to the Adaptec AVA-1515 SCSI controller card right down here. And so what that means is that the card itself is not at the electrical end of the SCSI bus. This tape drive has to be connected in order to electrically terminate the SCSI bus. Well, that terminator has to be hooked up, but it chains to the drive. So yeah, drive has to be hooked up to electrically terminate that into the SCSI bus. So yeah, given that it's a SCSI drive, the hardest part about that was trying to find software that would actually talk to the drive. And I ended up finding, I think, a copy of Connor Backup Exec. Yeah. I think a copy of Connor Backup Exec that would actually talk to this drive and let me back up to and restore data from tapes loaded in this drive. So I'm going to go ahead and command the drive to eject the tape that I've got loaded in it. Then I'll put it back into its case and then eventually shut the drive down. Actually, I'm going to leave it on just for now. Little green power light there. But yeah, I've got 2 or 3 backup sets from this system on these tapes. I should probably actually consider taking one of those off site, putting them in the bank vault. So yeah, but yeah, I want to install 32 megabytes of RAM into this system here, and then I'm probably going to I might take the ST41200NV hard disk out of this system, the 1.2 gig drive, and put it and swap it out with this 1.6 gigabyte hard drive. And then onto this hard drive, I think I'm going to install a copy of IBM OS 2 Warp 3 Connect Blue Spine. Yeah, I know, a bit of a mouthful there. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Yeah, over here, you see, I've got a copy of IBM DOS 5.0. I don't think I'm going to be using that. I think it's up here. Yes, it is up. Yes, it is up here. I know that's not static safe packaging, but wrapped up in this bubble wrap is a little bag, a little static safe bag. You can tell by the this light pink color, static safe. Yeah, 8 SIMs, 30 pins, for a total of 32 megabytes of RAM, 4 megabytes each, and these are full 9-bit wide parity SIMs. And then underneath that, got this box here. And in this box, oh yeah, get your software on. Love seeing this old school software packaging. There we go. In this box is IBM OS 2 Warp 3 Connect Blue Spine. Brand new. Brand new in the box. And the monitor just, okay, signal, okay. Includes DOS and Windows application support. Version 3, 3.5-inch diskettes. And so, the thing with IBM OS 2 is that there were two different versions. There were two different versions, major versions of IBM OS 2 that were shipped. This is the Blue Spine version, and the reason why it's called Blue Spine is, well, if you stand it up on your shelf, it looks like a book with the blue spine. This is the version that is, this is a version that includes its own DOS and Windows application support. If you've ever heard the phrase, it was a better DOS than DOS and a better Windows than Windows, this is it. This is a version that's a better DOS than DOS and a better Windows than Windows. You know, Windows 3, Windows for Workgroups 3.11 to be exact. The reason why this is called IBM OS 2 Warp 3 Connect, specifically Connect, is because it includes the TCP/IP stack. It includes a fully functional TCP/IP stack built right into the operating system. It was not a separate component that you had to install, like the Microsoft TCP/IP stack, or if you really want to blow some dust off some old bits, Trumpet WinSock. So, definitely a good throwback, but I'm glad we have moved on from those days. Not saying that Trumpet WinSock was bad or anything, but yeah, Trumpet WinSock, I think that ended up getting basically obsoleted by the Microsoft TCP/IP stack, which you only, and I can't remember if that was already baked into Windows for Workgroups, or if you still had to install that as a separate component. I know Windows NT had it. I think Windows NT 3 and 4 had it built in, and whereas if you were on just plain old Windows, not Windows for Workgroups, I think you either had to install the TCP/IP pack separately, the TCP/IP stack separately, or if it wasn't compatible, you had to fall back on something like Trumpet WinSock. So, anyways. But yeah, this system, IBM OS 2 Warp 3 Connect has a TCP/IP stack built in. So, and it also has the IBM bonus pack included. Internet, fax, IBM Works, multimedia, and more. See top of the box for more information. So, yeah, requires a 386 SX compatible or higher. We've got a 486 DX in there. We should be good. 4 megs RAM. We're going to be putting 32 in it. 35 to 60 megs free hard disk space, and it notes bonus pack requires up to 30 megabytes additional free space, user selectable, and 9600 baud or higher modem for online access. So yeah, we're gonna, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be putting this on a 1.6 gigabyte hard drive. Probably be about 1.55 once we get it formatted and everything. Need a 1.44 1.44 meg 3.5-inch diskette drive. Set it for drive A, which we do. VGA video support. Yeah, I think we've got that taken care of. IBM compatible mouse and multimedia ready systems for sound. I think this Logitech mouse here might be IBM compatible. It's from 1990. So that will have to be seen. They'll probably find a way to make it work. And then, yeah, multimedia ready systems for sound. Yep. So, This package installs on systems with DOS, Windows, and those that meet the above system requirements for OS2 Warp. It installs over OS2 2.1 or 2.11. If you are a user of OS2 for Windows version 2.1, IBM recommends you upgrade to the version of OS2 Warp with the red spine that uses your existing DOS and Windows. And that's what red spine is. The red spine version of OS2 does not include its own DOS and OS2 program support. It rides on top of an existing DOS and OS2 program support. DOS and Windows program support. It rides on top of an existing DOS and Windows install. So I would definitely be able to get along just fine if I had the red spine version, but I wanted the blue spine version. So, yeah, I mean, if I wanted to, I could probably get the red spine version, put it on here, and just have that ride on top of the existing Windows for Workgroups 3.11 install. But I want to go the whole 9 yards with it. So, yeah. Says, plus bonus pack includes IBM Internet Connection. There's a name you probably haven't heard in a while. CompuServe Information Manager and HyperAccess Lite. And IBM Person-to-Person, Multimedia Viewer, and Video In for OS2. IBM Works includes word processor, spreadsheet, charting, database, report writer, and personal information manager programs. Fax works for OS2, and the System Information Tool. And then we get to the back of the box. Yeah, easy, fast, compatible, value-packed. It's a totally cool way to run your computer. Yeah, it was a different time back then. What program is that? IBM Web Explorer, IBM Internet Connection, full color menu. Ooh. I wonder if that website's been archived by the Internet Archive. Assuming the Internet Archive isn't down, which they seem to be more often than not as of lately. They have an uptime that only Cloudflare could dream of. Yeah, just showcasing what you can do with the probably very expensive piece of software for the time. That bar down there reminds me of the CDE. That bar down there reminds me of CDE, the Common Desktop Environment. And it also reminds me of a modern-day recreation of it known as NSCDE. So, but yeah, they were... What happened to that? Yeah, they weren't real big on properly on a proper multitasking operating system. So, yeah, its crash protection helps prevent a single wayward program from affecting the rest of your system. Yes, this is what you call preemptive multitasking, not cooperative multitasking. Because cooperative multitasking was cooperative until a program decided to not cooperate, at which point your system hung. In fact, I've done a big long write-up on how that goes, on how that probably goes. It has to deal with hooking the warm reset. It has to deal with hooking the warm reset interrupt vector and the system interrupt descriptor or interrupt vector table. So that way whenever the system hangs and you mash Control-Alt-Delete in frustration, the Windows kernel will try to find out what hung the system and give you an option to terminate it. But even then again, that didn't work reliably. And, I mean, still most of the time what would happen is your system would end up completely hanging anyways, and you would need to end up rebooting your computer. And, yeah, preemptive multitasking, as advertised on the back of the box there, it was a good step in the right direction as far as improving the reliability of your computer. Preemptive multitasking was one of the biggest steps in the right direction as far as improving the reliability of modern computing. because cooperative, as I just said, cooperative multitasking was cooperative until the program decided to not be cooperative, at which point everything kind of went off the rails. So preemptive multitasking, each program gets a defined set of time slices, and so even if a program locked up, the rest of the computer would still be able to run because the scheduler, because once that program had exhausted its allotted amount of time slices, the system simply transferred execution to the next program running on that thread or core and moved on. So kept the system responsive when programs went sideways. And then this over here, this is my Dell Dimension 2400 system. It's probably come up in at least one video in the past. Maybe it's definitely been in the background of a lot of these videos. Monitor, got the Tech Room Workbench UPS here. So this is playing a YouTube video through a service that implements a YouTube interface circa 2009, and it works really well at making this stuff. It works really well at making this stuff work on older computers. This system is running a bone stock copy of Windows 2000. And this system is running a bone stock copy of Windows 2000. Well, it's actually far from bone stock. It's been modified with the extended version 5.1 and yeah, that sort of stuff. I go to About Task Manager, and we can see Microsoft Windows 2000, and I've got 1.5 GB of RAM. The database is outdated by 735 days. Right click here and select the Check for Updates option. Yeah, got an old copy of Malwarebytes. Got an old copy of Malwarebytes on this system. One of the old perpetually licensed versions. And then, yeah, because perpetual no longer means, because perpetually licensed is no longer perpetual in 2025. They ended up, several years ago, they turned off they shut down the old update servers, so now you can't update the definitions database. Great going, guys. Yeah, this is my original upload of the 1996-1997 dish installation guide. So, but yeah, that's I think that just about does it for a Tech Room tour. I mean, there's a few things I could mention. This here, big old compact. This big old compact workstation system one of my friends gave me over the summer. Same friend that gave me the big old speakers back there. Don't remember what the model is, but it's got Rambus RD RAM and slot 2 Intel Pentium 3 Xeon processors. Looking at the wrong system here. And it's also got onboard SCSI. This was definitely a workstation class system. This is a system I want to get up and running again because I was given this system in disassembled condition and we ended up putting it back together, but I haven't powered it up in the several months I've had it since this case has had metalwork done in it, and I don't want to power the system up until I fully disassemble it, take the air compressor to it, because I would hate to power that thing up and kill that workstation. From what if I remember right, the system was working the last time it was powered up before it got disassembled and everything. But yeah, I want to get that system up and running, do a big old video on it. This is a little white box system, thoroughly unexciting, pretty generic hardware, Intel Pentium 3 processor, slot 1, thoroughly unexciting little generic white box computer for the time. So I might do a video over this. Why is my phone making noise? And then we've got a Packard Bell. We've got a Packard Bell system here from 1996. 5990. This description 5996 CDT. Packard Bell model A940-TWRA. This is, yeah, it's a Packard Bell. Video upcoming on this. Also known as a, I think a PackMate 530. Also known as a PackMate 533. Dell Precision 220 workstation. No, not a 533. A PackMate 5996 CDT. Okay, so maybe not 1996. I think this system was actually built sometime in 1995. And then there's the front side of this compact workstation. So, the front panel to this thing is completely missing. I do have the buttons with it though, they're hanging out there. Nor do I have, I think, the proprietary drive rails you gotta use to secure optical drives into that system. I don't think the hard drive cage requires such shenanigans. I will be thoroughly annoyed if it does. So, but anyways, yeah. This system down here, I briefly mentioned it. This is Hyperion. Hyperion or Hyperion, depending on how you want to pronounce it. This system here, I converted this into a Proxmox hypervisor several months ago. And this system now runs, among other things, pretty much the core of this leg of the network. It does, yeah, it's got both my primary and secondary firewalls, both my primary and secondary DNS servers. It's hosting the file server. It's hosting a couple of utility VMs and 3 network service VMs, monitoring 3 UPSs. That one there, that Workbench UPS, and then there's a UPS in the living room that this system also monitors. So, yeah. And at some point, soon, I'm going to be swapping out a couple hard drives in there, upgrading my media server pool to 4 terabytes instead of 2 terabytes. And then I'll probably take the time to do a big old deep dive on it. I've got a couple short videos that I've recorded that I haven't actually uploaded to YouTube. I'll probably splice them into that video. Might splice them in here if I'm feeling generous. So anyways, and then there's that Dell Inspiron system. It's now the tech room main office computer. Yeah. There's Theseus, Gateway 2000 system, Dell Dimension 2400. Collection of systems under here waiting their turn to have something happen with them. And then I want to do something with the Gateway 510S. Need to repair the power supply in the Athlon 64 system. So, and then, just because I can, I'll turn the lights out. The big lights at least. Kind of just bask in the ambiance of the Christmas lights. All the other systems in here glowing away. I think this system is going to come up giving me a password prompt. No, it's not. Okay. FPM off. Okay. So we'll kind of just look around and bask in the Christmas lighting. Looks better in the reflections of the window. Let's actually go ahead and lower the blinds so these little LEDs up here have something to bounce the light off of and into the room with. Anyways, that's bright. That is really bright. That's kind of what happens whenever you put 150 watt equivalent LED bulb in that thing. Yeah, at night when the lights are out in the living room and everything, and I've got all 4 lights in here turned on, I'll open that door. It's like the sun is beaming into the living room, lighting it up. That's how bright it is in here. Of course, it kind of makes sense when you have the equivalent of 600 watts worth of incandescent lighting installed in here. And that's actually sometime, if you've ever watched any of my videos after I put these lights in, and you see it kind of looks like the image is blown out, the brightness is blown out a little bit, that's probably why. Because this room is very, very bright with these lights turned on, but it's very nice too when I'm working on computers and I've got my head and I'm neck deep inside a computer case trying to find out where something goes. And usually what ends up happening there is my head is so big it blocks out most of the light, and I still have to break out my phone's flashlight and end up using that, or partially disassembling the system trying to find out where a particular connector goes. It's usually the front panel headers. It's usually the front panel headers for the computer case where I have to do such things. So, but anyways, I believe that just about covers it. So yeah, another tech room tour, another Christmas in the bag. New Year's coming up. New Year's coming up. Got some video projects I want to do. More projects coming up with the Gateway 2000 system. Exciting stuff. 32 megs of RAM, IBM, 32 megs of RAM, 1.6 gigabyte hard disk, IBM OS 2 Warp 3 Connect Blue Spine. Exciting things coming up. Exciting things to look forward to. So, hope y'all enjoyed it. Stay tuned for, hope y'all enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. Anyways, this is TCG Productions. Peace out, guys. Peace out. And I will see y'all in the next one. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.